What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright, joined by Mr. William Monroe. Will, how you doing here?
Steve, how can I be doing bad? We have finally reached draft week. Can you believe it?
Yeah, we are right there, aren't we? Just a few days away. Recording this on a Monday. It'll, I guess, be released on Tuesday. From the standpoint of when you're hearing this, you're only 2 days away. So perfect time to get some of our predictions in, huh?
Yeah, jealous of the listener because all of them are closer to the draft than we are currently recording it.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. So yeah, we got a fun one. We do it every year. We go ahead and pick the team and round where we think, not everyone, but your top people from the various positions here, where we think they're going to go, what round, and then we just put a score together. You get a point if you get the team. You get a point if you get the round. I know we talked about this last time. Usually we wager is like, okay, you have the tiebreaker in our dynasty league for our first round pick. We don't have one this year, and I don't think we're going to end up getting one. So no, it might just be for fun.
Like it. Yeah.
Last year, I believe we tied.
I think you came out, unless we've done it. I know the 1 year you came out on top and kind of had the tiebreaker.
Yeah, I think the first year I had the tiebreaker. Yeah, because I went at Dobbins. And then I think last year we tied.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see this year. One of the things I called out is that we have one pick that is the same. Usually, you end up with Trevor Lawrence is going to the Jags. We all think that Kyle Pitts is going to the Falcons. There's usually not a lot, 3, 4, 5 maybe. We ended up with one.
What are the odds of all of the guys we're about to go through?
Yeah, now to be fair, and this happens every year, you go to the wide receivers and you see the same teams. You see the same rounds. We just got different players going to different teams. So
yes.
we'll see what happens there.
Make it interesting.
Yeah, 100%. So with all that said, are you ready to jump in?
Pitter patter, let's get at her.
Beautiful. So we are going to go ahead and start with the quarterback position here. We got 5 people we're going over here first. And Kenny Pickett is going to be the very first one we're starting off here. Will, where do you have him going?
I have him going to the Steelers, maybe a little bit more of like a storybook type thing. He went to Pitt. From what I understand, he actually was an Eagles fan, so maybe he's from more like central Pennsylvania. But, the Steelers need a quarterback. He's probably going to be, if I think Malik Willis is probably the one that's locked into a first round pick. If there's more than one, I think Pickett's probably the guy. Any given year with quarterbacks, they're so needed. It could have multiple, more than 2. But I think if there is more than one, it'll be Pickett. And if he's there at 20 for the Steelers, maybe they pull the trigger. So I'm banking on them doing that, especially with the tragic news of Dwayne Haskins recently. So with him passing away, you only really have Mitch Trubisky there, and I guess Rudolph. Yeah, so not a lot of depth there. I don't think they've made a play for a veteran yet, so I could see them going rookie, and I think Willis goes earlier as the top one, so I think Pickett will be a first-round pick to the Steelers.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I have a Steelers pick later. Mine, I started off with a Hail Mary here because I believe they don't have a first or a second. So it's going to require some trading here, but I have them going to the Bucks. The Bucks looking forward. They have to look forward. If they don't draft a quarterback, I mean, I know we're not in love with these quarterbacks, but you got to do something.
You don't believe in what was that dude from? Was it last year or 2 years ago? Second round pick, I think.
Oh,
I think we had him on the one dynasty league.
Yep, we did. Oh man, yeah, we talked about him too.
I think he was like a second or third round pick, so it wasn't anything super high draft caliber, but he was a wait and see guy.
Yeah, he was. And they never. Oh, Kyle Trask. Yeah, I think they went with Gabbert whenever they needed like a
exactly. Like Trask is more of a developed guy. Gabbert, you want to have a more stable backup quarterback, but
100%.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I wonder if Brady will pull a Rodgers if they end up taking a quarterback in the first round instead of a skill player or somebody to help him win now.
Maybe. So yeah, definitely a Hail Mary on my part. Need some trading to get that done. both of us in the first round, so no surprise there. Yeah. The one we agree on is Malik Willis. We both have him going in the first round to the Panthers. I'm assuming you're
Locked
thinking the
in.
same way I am. They need a quarterback. Rule needs something exciting to try to keep his job. And they got the pick capital to do it. That sums it up, right?
Yeah, and I think really the only other opportunity unless there's a big trade, I think Willis is either going to be a Panther or a Seahawk. I think that's pretty locked in. It's going to be one of those two, and I think we may see the Seahawks come up a little bit later here in our discussions, but I think Panthers, Seahawks make the most sense, and I believe, I'll pull up the draft order. I want to say the Panthers pick ahead of the Seahawks because I think the Seahawks traded their pick, but then got a pick back.
In the first, the Panthers are up in the 6th. The Seahawks are in the 9th.
Yeah, but I think the Seahawks pick would have been higher had they not traded it last year or years past. It might have been in the deal with the Jets. I think that's how the Jets got their additional pick.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, looking at it, the Seahawks got the 9th pick. Oh, no, the Jets got the 10th pick, so they probably would have been 10th had they...
okay, not a lot of difference.
Had they not, yeah, so they actually moved up a spot, trading Wilson away. But, yeah, and I think Seahawks get him at 9 if he doesn't go at 6 there to the Panthers. But I imagine he's the top 10 pick. If not, maybe somebody else moves up. Wouldn't be something if the Carson Wentz-led Washington Commanders moved up to get him right after they took signed Carson Wentz.
For real. We'll get to the Seahawks now. Matt Corral is next. This is kind of the first differentiator for us because I think most people think these next quarterbacks are either late first or like early to mid second. You have happened to plop them all in the second. I have plopped them all into the first somewhere. Matt Corral, you have going to those Seahawks.
Yeah. Seahawks have 2 early second round picks. They have 40 and 41, which is 8 and 9 in the second round. So it could end up being, move up into the back of the first to get him just to, lock in. I mean, I think the salary goes up a bit more, but you get that 5th year. So could be something they want to do if they like him. And I think it was Sam Howell or Matt Corral are kind of the consensus next 2. But there's been a lot of buzz about Matt Corral from a lot of teams. So I could see the Seahawks either getting him at 8 or 9 or maybe trading up with one of them, both of them, and getting him a little earlier in the second. But right now I've got them taking Matt Corral in the second round.
Yeah, and I have him going to the Steelers. So we're both agreed that Steelers, we're looking to add a quarterback, you would think. Let's say they really believe in Trubisky there. I'm not sure they'll pick him where they're slotted in the first. I could see them trading back a little bit and grabbing him, but still in the later first, maybe he is, their guy and they'll grab him in that middle round, but I think they could trade back, but I won't rehash the conversation too much. Pretty much all the same reasons you have the Steelers picking Kenny Pickett. So
exactly.
Yeah, all good there. Next on our list was Desmond Ridder. So an interesting one. He is on my board the last of the quarterbacks to go. I have him going in the very late first round to the Lions. I look at the Lions and say, this is a team that probably wants a quarterback for the future. Probably have somebody sit a year behind Goff. And they happen to have the last pick in the first round. So that's perfect. I do think kind of like you, probably belongs in the second, but when you have the last pick in the first, it's practically a second, and it's a free pick for the Lions. Now, I'll be real mad if they pick him with the second pick in the second round. That would suck, but yeah,
you get a point at least.
Yeah, agreed. And it looks like you'll be talking about the Lions soon. I'm sure we're in agreement there, but I'm going Lions in the first round. Where do you have him going?
Yeah, I've got him going to the Commanders in the second round. They're more of a mid-second round pick, and I do think Ridder's probably, in my estimation, the 5th quarterback off the board. The next guy we're going to talk about, I've actually got going 3rd ahead of these last 2. So, maybe Washington trades up a little bit. Right now, they are pick 15 here in the second round. So maybe they move up a little bit. They think they got to get ahead of someone. Maybe Atlanta's down there. Seahawks if they don't pick someone earlier. So it could look to move up, but I think more they need a quarterback of the future. We've seen that Wentz hasn't been able to get it done, and he'll definitely get a shot this year. But I think it clearly wasn't a bunch of teams clamoring to get him, right? It was just Washington. So I think makes sense that they take a shot on him. He maybe needs a little bit more time to develop, and you give him some time behind Wentz this year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Last quarterback we have is Sam Howell. You have him going to the Lions in the second. Any other reasons other than what I laid out for the Lions?
Nope, same thing. I got him as my third quarterback coming off the board at the Lions pick there at 202 or pick 34. Easily, could make that pick at the end of that first round if they want to, if they do want to lock in that fifth-year option for him. But I think Howell is the third guy to come off the board. So for me, he is that, kind of potential third quarterback in the first round, but more than likely early in the second round, or Corral and Ritter a little bit later in the second round.
Yeah, fair. And I have him, again, going in the first to the Saints, a team potentially looking to their future. I really don't know what they're going to do. Like, you can make a case for sticking with Winston, but I think that the Taysom Hill experience is done, at least as a starting quarterback. Peyton's out of the way, and I think, the new regime's going to come in. They're going to want to start with their own guy. You can, again, like I said with Goff and Ritter, you can have Sam sit behind Winston for a year, learn how to throw interceptions really well, and then give him the starting job the next year. So yeah, I'm just curious what the Saints do. It's a pretty interesting situation for them. So a gamble, but I think it makes some sense too. So I have him going to the Saints. That rounds out our quarterbacks there, Will. We will move on to the running backs. Number 1, Breece Hall. Who do you got him going to?
Yeah, so Breece Hall, I think, is the top guy here out of all the running backs. He seems like the most kind of locked in, least bust proof of the grouping here. There's a few running backs, definitely not as deep as last year and then expected to be next year. So I think that's why a lot of people were a little sour on it from a rookie pick and dynasty perspective. But I think Breece is the top guy. I don't have anyone going in the first round, but I think Breece is the top guy to go. And I got the Cardinals taking him here in the middle of the second round. Need to get additional weapons there around Kyler. Receiving core still looks okay. Christian Kirk's gone, but I guess they got to hope that Rondale Moore steps up. You still got Hopkins, AJ Green's there. Zach Ertz did well last year. Maybe he sees an uptick in targets with Kirk gone. But with just coming into the year with Benjamin and James Conner, I can't see them leaving this draft without a running back, unless they sign someone else, here before the draft. And I think of all the teams, there are a few teams that need running back, but I think they are one of the few that would want to strike first to get that top guy. And Breece Hall, I think, is just a home run for that offense. And I think that would be easily lock him into the 101 of rookie drafts for one QB at least. Probably make him debatable there in Superflex.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I do have a round difference, so I do have him going in the first. Key reason being the team I have him going to has 2 first-round draft picks. So I don't know, Will. I'm curious if this makes you happy or you just don't want to waste the pick, but I have him going to the Eagles. I see, the Miles Sanders experiment probably coming to an end at some point here in the near future. Hall, I would imagine, is going to be a clear upgrade for that. So, yeah, thought it was an interesting match. First round, I probably more in agreement with you. I would think it'd be second. But with 2 first-round picks and kind of a need, it's not the biggest need, but it's not like some rock-solid position either. I think it makes some sense. What do you think about him going to the Eagles? Is that something you want or no?
I wouldn't mind it, but I don't think they would take a running back before like the third, maybe. They have too many needs. I think if there's one thing that's guaranteed, it's going to be linebacker and running back. They're absolutely not taking the first round. Like Howie has devalued those positions. Howie Roseman, the Eagles GM, so much. I think it's almost a lock. It's going to be a defensive player, likely a D lineman. He has taken D lineman so many times, so I could see it being one of the Georgia defensive tackles, unless one of the DNs slip. And then, possibly another defensive player in the secondary or one of the wide receivers. So if I had to guess, I think it's, probably a receiver and a defensive lineman out of those two picks for the Eagles. I love Breece Hall, but I don't think that would be the wisest pick based on where he should go and just kind of the other needs that the Eagles have.
Yeah, that's fair. Next up, we have Kenneth Walker. I won't spend too much time on him. I have him going in a second. I have him going to the Cardinals, and pretty much for the same reasons you have. James Conner is good. Is he a long-term solution? Probably not. They lost a running back. That means they need a running back. I think it makes a lot of sense. So yeah, I won't spend too much time on that. What about you? Where you got Walker going?
Yeah, I've got him going to, I think, kind of the best other situation for a running back here from fantasy and dynasty perspective. I got him going to the Bills. I think maybe this is wishful thinking for both him and Breece Hall, just from fantasy perspective. I think these are the two best situations for running backs to go to this year. From a draft perspective, from an immediate impact perspective, I understand they do have. I do still have a couple of running backs there, and Singletary and Zach Moss, but I don't think either of them are really game changers or special. Singletary's good. I think most some of these rookies, but Zach Moss is So I think Hall or Walker would be walk in and very maybe not easily, but have a very good chance of taking the starting job. And some of these other guys would probably be able to fit in and compete. So yeah, Kenneth Walker, pretty easily my RB2 here. I think it's kind of as a tier. The top tier is Breece Hall by himself. The next tier is Walker, and maybe like slightly below our next guy. And then after that, I think it is a pretty big drop off after those top three.
Yeah, so we got Isaiah Spiller next. We both have him going in the third round. Who do you got him going to?
Yeah, I got him going to the Texans. So maybe not the sexiest pick there, sexiest team for him to go to, but should be some opportunity at the very least, and hopefully an up-and-coming team as they continue to try to rebuild. I think they're going to want to get as many guys, skill players that can flash and put people in the seats, because not a very exciting team right now. So if you can get a big name, big time player, he's real. He's a game breaker. He is someone that has the size, has the vision. He can catch the ball, but his yards after contact weren't great, so he wasn't the best at breaking tackles. He's not the biggest, from a breaking tackle physical standpoint. So I think he's kind of that one guy that has like the upside of being on Breece Hall's level, but then the floor of busting. Whereas I think Hall and Walker have a much higher floor, and Hall the kind of a higher ceiling as well.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I have a Texans pick coming up here soon. But for Spiller, I have him going to the Ravens. Another team, and you got Ravens taking a running back here as well. So I'm assuming we're probably kind of on the same wavelength. They don't know about Dobbins. They don't know about Edwards. And it feels like if you're in that kind of situation, you probably should draft a guy. It doesn't feel like you need to draft, Hall or Walker with your first or second pick. I think a third round pick is probably fair. Wouldn't be surprised if they end up with a fourth or, even a fifth round person. Probably won't wait any longer after that, but just a team that seems like they need a running back, as insurance for a couple reasons. Of A, are your guys going to play? Like, when are they going to play this year? B, Gus will probably be fine, but Dobbins was a young player that we've seen some out of, but not a ton to say, yeah, he'll be back and, he'll be the guy. Like, he could come back and not be the same, or just not be the player we thought he was going to be. So I think it makes sense to draft somebody. I got Spiller going there. Next up, we got Zamir White. Again, we both have him going to the third. I don't need to talk about this much. I have him going to the Texans for all the reasons you have somebody going to the Texans. They need, a young running back at the end of the day. They keep relying on these old guys and they don't work out. So see them drafting a running back just like you do. So we're aligned on that front. Still in the third round, but you have a different team. What team do you have here?
Yeah, I got him going to the Seahawks. I think a team that loves to run the ball would love to get another back there because I think Chris Carson, there's some question marks to his long-term health. Sean Penny looked good, but I don't know that you can trust a full backfield to him. And then you got who was it? DJ Dallas, who hopefully can show out this year, but we still haven't truly seen it yet.
We flipped him for an early second.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, good move.
Can't believe that. Like that was mid-draft too.
Yeah, and then we traded that second down like 2 or 3 times. Got Elijah Moore and more pick capital. Yeah, we did good with that.
But yeah, so we've got Zamir White. I like Zamir White. I think he's got upside. Does have a lower floor too. From what I could tell, he's got the speed. He's a big guy, size and power. He's got really good vision. Didn't really show a ton when it comes to catching the ball, or another negative was maybe some of the quickness. So I think he's got some upside. Maybe not that 3-down back. But I think a lot of people, comped him to Nick Chubb, and that was, I think we talked about it in our rookie mock draft. Chubb was someone that I don't think people really thought could catch the ball coming out, but he's proven to be good enough, good enough to stay in that top 10 most years. So I like Zamir White. I think he's, depending, obviously all this going to be landing spot could tweak some things, but he is kind of the beginning of that, that next tier of guys. So he's like kind of top of my board outside of this big 3. I think Seahawks would be a pretty good landing spot for him.
That makes sense. Next up, we have James Cook. It looks like you have him going to the Ravens. Any other reasons other than what I was talking about earlier, or?
No. Unfortunately, I think we just don't trust the Gus Bus too much to be the number 2 going forward. I'm hopeful. I have him in the league, but with the injury, and just obviously the uncertainty still there for Dobbins. They definitely want to get somebody else. And James Cook is a great receiving back. I think we mentioned last episode again that he is Dalvin Cook's little brother. I think profiles as an incredible receiving back. His cutting is awesome. Great route runner. Fast. He can catch. I believe he's a little older coming in, and he's not that big, so size and power could be an issue, but he could be a really good complement, to Dobbins if Dobbins is your, 2-down back. And then he could be your 3rd-down specialist. And I think his floor is relatively high from a, worst case scenario, outside of completely busting out. See him being like a James White, or a J.D. McKissick level player that you're happy with, especially in PPR leagues. But you're never going to be over the moon with him as like a top 10 back, at least consistently.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have him going over to the Bucks. We do have a round difference. I have him in the 3rd. You have him in the 4th. I'm going to the Bucks as just an heir apparent. I looked at this draft and thought very much in the future for the Bucks of like, yeah, you have a win now team. You'll be fine with the team you have now, but you do need to think about next year. And next year, Fournette will not be there. Is Rojo there now? Did he?
No, I believe Rojo is in Kansas City.
That's what I thought. He's in Kansas City. So yeah, it makes sense. You get him in there. You can utilize him as a passing guy this year, give him some work, but give most of the load to Fournette. Next year, maybe he takes over the role, something to that degree. But forward looking, from my standpoint there. For Mr. Cook, next we got is Brian Robinson. I also have him going in the 3rd, and I have him go to the Falcons. Not a big surprise. You have the Falcons grabbing a running back later as well. It's a team that needs everything.
Yeah,
they don't need a tight end.
And the Texans.
yeah,
they're a little ahead of the Texans. Yeah, with having the tight end as an elite level player, and I guess you could say Mariota's probably better than the Texans starting quarterback. And that's why I don't have them taking a quarterback. I think Falcons, may be able to to get by for a year or two with Mariota. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think they're definitely a little bit better set than the Texans, but yeah, they definitely need some skill players. That's for sure.
Yep. So I think Brian Robinson plugs in there, and he's probably the
Mhm.
starting running back, something to that degree. Where do you have him go?
Yeah, so Brian Robinson, I have him going to your 49ers. I think the Niners could use another running back from the standpoint. You got Elijah Mitchell, and then you got Trace Sermon and Jeff Wilson. So I think there's some uncertainty behind Mitchell, and I hope that Mitchell can continue that, but he was a 5th-round pick, so there is always regression possibility when you didn't have that draft capital coming out. I mean, I like Elijah Mitchell. I know you probably hope this as well, that he does not regress and continues to be the guy that we saw last year. But there's possibility there, so I could see them taking a running back, especially the way they run the ball. And Brian Robinson is a good, kind of north-south runner. I think he's someone that a lot of NFL teams are going to like, maybe more than your fantasy teams. I mean, he's got the size, got the physicality, not the fastest guy, so I think he's more of a north-south guy. From a fantasy standpoint, may not be the sexiest. Maybe like a Jordan Howard type guy. I don't see him catching a ton of balls. I don't know if he had the opportunity in Alabama, but I see him being more of a north-south runner and maybe a guy that helps their NFL team more than he helps your fantasy team. But could be wrong. There's plenty of guys that kind of profile like that, but do come out and break that mold.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I could definitely see them grabbing a running back, even though I didn't pick them for one. I did consider it multiple times. I didn't do it, but I do think it makes sense. Abraham Smith is next up. We both have him going in the 5th. Will, you have the Texans taking a second running back here.
Yeah, they, like I said, need a lot.
Yeah.
As we talked about, they need pretty much everything. So I got them just doubling up, taking 2 shots on the running back here for everything I said earlier, and just a guy that's a little bit less draft capital.
Yeah, that's fair. I have him going over to the Raiders. Raiders just feel like one of those teams that you don't really consider for running back. They got Josh Jacobs; they'll be fine. I think Drake's still there, but I think it'd be a nice depth piece in the 5th round. It doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Drake's going to move on eventually. And who knows, if you hit, maybe start looking to move on from Jacobs. I'm assuming his contract's probably coming up soon if they didn't re-sign him. I'm not sure where that
I don't
stands.
know if he got that second contract yet, but it's definitely, if he didn't, it's definitely got to be coming up in the near future.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I got him going over to the Raiders there. Corbin is next on the list. I have him going in the 4th to the Browns, which I had to think about this a lot because it's the Browns and you have Chubb and Hunt, but I'm imagining Hunt is gone after this year.
You got to think that. And I don't know if they officially brought back Dearness Johnson. I think they may have had a restricted free agent where they could tender him. But I think he might be back too. So maybe they see him as an opportunity to get some depth there behind Chubb.
Yeah, it's just a death play, and I'm not sure. I don't think Corbin is a great pass catcher. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So he's not like a Hunt replacement, but yeah, just a depth play, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid route runner, and from what I saw, pretty good vision, but not very elusive, not a ton of acceleration. So I think he was just kind of more, from a fantasy perspective, not someone that you're thrilled about. Probably like most of these guys that we're talking about outside of this first 3 or 4, 5.
From here on out,
most of these guys are going to be depth guys.
Definitely, yeah.
Depth NFL guys, and you have them on the back of your roster. You're hoping that they get that opportunity for a couple weeks, and then ideally you can sell high.
Yeah, definitely. So who do you have him going to?
So I got him go to the Giants. This is kind of the part of the draft where I'm just, who could use a depth running back? Because none of these guys I don't think are really going to be starters anywhere. So I got him going to the Giants just as a chance to get some depth behind Saquon. With the rumors there that they may move on from him. There are talks of trades. His contract's got to be coming up in the next year or two.
Yeah, absolutely. Dameon Pierce up next. Funny, we're talking about depth plays. I think the team that you have put him on, maybe he ends up as the starter.
Yeah, he's actually a little more than most of this group here. I kind of have him up in the Zamir White, James Cook, area, as well as a couple other guys we got a little later here. Guys that I think, depending on landing spot, could boost. But I do like Pierce out of Florida. From what I was reading, he just didn't get like opportunity a ton. They always had other running backs there with him. But he has good size, good balance. He's a good pass protector, so I think that'll get him on the field early. Speed and elusiveness were two things that I saw were a little lower, but he definitely seems overall like a good running back that you want to have on a team, and could be one of those mid to late guys that breaks out and it kind of enters that class of your good rookies like your Hall, Walker, Spiller, like we're hoping.
Yeah, and I got him going to the Panthers. Big round differential here. You got him going to third. I got him going to fifth. Not a lot to say. I see him as just being a backup to CMC. Maybe someone that could be the heir to CMC if they move on from him, but not someone I'm expecting a ton from fantasy. I don't think the Chuba experiment worked out very well, which says a lot about Chuba considering Mike Davis slotted in there and was very good. So, yeah, I could just see them looking to add somebody, and I got Pierce as that somebody. Next up, we got Pierre Strong. I got him go to the Broncos in the fifth round, just a depth play. I don't know that they bring back Melvin Gordon, and if not, you need to grab somebody else for that team.
Yeah, I can't believe he's still a free agent, actually. I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
Melvin's still a free agent.
After the draft, I guess you'll see. Maybe he'll end up as a Raven or back with the Broncos, depending on if they get whoever they want. But
yeah, that's possibly.
Yeah.
What about I've got Pierre going to the Eagles, as you mentioned. I said I think they go with someone in the middle rounds here, maybe the third, but I think more likely the fourth. So I have him going to the Eagles here in the fourth, and for the same reasons. I don't think that I don't think Sanders gets a second contract, and he's got to be coming up here in the next year or two. So I think they want to get some depth there behind him. So I think Pierre Strong makes sense. He's pretty quick, pretty elusive. Size is maybe a concern of his. So definitely get some more depth there in the running backs. Next up, we've got Kyren Williams, who someone that has pretty good pedigree out of Notre Dame. He's someone that I think a lot of running backs have hired. And he is in that James Cook mode of a perfect receiving back, great pass protector, great route runner, quick. He's got good vision. He can catch the ball. He's got patience. It's his size and his elusiveness that a lot of people were down on. So I got him in the middle rounds here in the fourth round. Also going to the Giants, getting some depth there. I think he's a good pass protector, and I think that with the potential of Saquon leaving, wants to get some more depth. So got him going to the Giants. What about you?
I'm going over to the Bills. Really, a lot of the same reasons that you outlined. Bills feel like they need a guy. You did see Singletary breaking out at the end of last year, doing very good. So that's really the real wild card. It was the first stretch. I mean, not the first stretch. I think he had a stretch in his rookie season, maybe, but you haven't seen a ton from Singletary that makes you believe that he's a long-term guy. And if the Bills feel that way, they're definitely drafting somebody early. If the Bills feel like, yeah, what we've been seeing in practice all these years is what we saw at the end of last year, then they'll probably just grab a depth guy because, like you said, Moss isn't the dude. So I have him going with Kyren as that depth play. But we'll see.
All right, next up,
wide
Tyler Beatty.
Yeah, Tyler Beatty. I have him going to the Dolphins in the fourth round. Team that just feels like they need a running back. I'm sure we pegged the Dolphins for somebody last year that they didn't draft. So we're trying it again. So I got him going to the Dolphins as a need. How about you?
Yep, I've got him also in the fourth round going to the Titans. Another depth play, a guy that they want to have to maybe spell Derrick Henry. They're going to ride Henry, but I think they want to get some guys that they can actually play behind him. They lucked out with a couple of guys, but they haven't really drafted anyone that's been able to get on the field. So Tyler Beatty, I think, is a good option here for the Titans to get a little bit of depth there. I think he's a good receiving back. He is one of the top guys when it comes to ball security. He's not huge, so maybe he can be kind of that offset passing down guy to Henry.
Okay, and final person here, we got Rachaad White. What are you doing with him?
Yeah, give him to the Cowboys. I think that this is an interesting year for the Cowboys. They are kind of cap-strapped, partially why they had to move on from Cooper. And we'll see about Zeke. I think a lot of people are worried that he's close to the end. I think Pollard could step in and at some point, maybe this year or next year, be the lead guy. And if they move on from Zeke, they're going to need to get some depth. And I think Rachaad White's a good option there. He's athletic, he's patient, he's quick, he's a little older. I think he's like 23, I want to say. And elusiveness was one of the knocks for him, but I think he's a good option there. So I got him in the 5th going to the Cowboys just so they can get some depth there.
I have him going to the Giants for all the reasons that you had Corbin go to the Giants earlier. So,
all right.
Yeah, nothing more to say on that front.
So we'll move into the wide receivers here. And I think this is where we flip-flop with the quarterback side, where you had a lot of quarterbacks going in the 1st. I have more receivers going in the 1st in the year. I think this is going to be, in most years you've got a lot going in there. But I think this is the strength of the draft from a fantasy perspective. There's okay tight ends, a couple of top running backs, average quarterbacks, but the wide receiver depth is there. At the very least, it's average compared to past years. So, top guy for me, and that we're going to talk about first here, is Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State. I think he's kind of the most sure thing of the group. The physicality, I think, was the one knock they had on him, but he has great speed, one of the best catchers. His separation's awesome. He can jump. So he's top guy for me, and I've got fantasy wise, I've actually got the Saints taking him. I don't think NFL takes him first. I think there'll be one or two other guys taken ahead of him, but I think he's the best kind of pure overall receiver, and I've got him going to the Saints right there in the middle of the round at round 1.
And I also have him going in round 1. I think everyone does. Going to the Falcons because they don't have anyone. If Mariota is going to succeed, he's going to need someone good to throw the ball to. And Wilson and Pitts is a good combo. You got Patterson in there as your gadget guy. You give Mariota a chance to succeed with that, and you get a long-term guy now that Ridley is, I'm assuming, not playing for the Falcons ever again. Never say never,
Looks
but
like it.
I'm assuming not. So yeah, I have him going over to the Falcons. Next on our list,
put you on the spot real quick.
Oh boy!
If someone said, "I'm trying to get rid of Calvin Ridley," what would you trade for them? What draft pick?
Interesting. Late second, maybe. Late.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, I think 3rd is probably ideal.
That is more
most
ideal.
People probably ask for that, ask for that late second, and it is. Maybe this year that's the time to do it because it seems like not as deep of a draft, but I think that's something that you could see at your drafts. Someone's trying to offload him just to get a pick because it's draft day. And if you don't have much invested in him outside of a late second or a 3rd, not a bad guy to put at the bottom of your roster.
Yeah, absolutely. In Young, we've already seen it. It makes a lot of sense. That's why I'm willing to do the late second.
But next up, we've got Jameson Williams out of Alabama. I think this could have been the top guy and was one of the top guys coming into it, but he tore his ACL, I believe, in the national championship game or maybe the semifinal. But this dude is an absolute just speed demon. He's speed, burst, he's explosive. He's having all the big plays. Yards after catch is crazy. Great route runner, good hands. Injury is one of the biggest concerns. It doesn't have the best release, and I don't think you're ever going to confuse him for someone who's going to be a great contested catch guy, but he's going to be your speed guy. And that's why I have him going to the Eagles at 15. I think from what I hear that they, rumors obviously coming out that he's their ideal option, and they have 15 and 18. So I could see them going with him at 15. I think he'd be a great complement to Devonta Smith, who's just, a great pure receiver and route runner to take the top off the defense. So I think good fit there, but I do think he is, in my draft here, the 2nd receiver. And we'll get to who my first guy is in just a moment.
Yeah, I think I originally had him as an Eagle as well. But then I pivoted to the Chiefs. If you're going to replace a burner like Tyreek Hill, you should draft another burner. So I went with him to the Chiefs. Felt there was a need. Won't say too much more.
Yeah, they definitely have one. I think I would be surprised if the Chiefs don't come away with a receiver with somewhere in the first round with having 29 and 30.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be talking about them later. And next up, we got Drake London. I have him going to the Eagles with the first round. So we are definitely in agreement that the Eagles are taking a
Yeah.
wide receiver with one of their first two picks, as is, I'd imagine most. I just have it being Drake London. You have it being Williams. So won't rehash the conversation. They need a wide receiver. So who do you
Yeah.
got?
I got him going to the Jets, and I got him as the top guy. I think he also ended the year on injured. I think he got hurt in the regular season, so he's got a little bit more of a time frame to heal up. But I got him going to the Jets there in the first round, probably in like that 10ish range. I think that's their second pick. Love Elijah Moore, great, smaller, good route runner, deep guy. Drake London's the opposite. He's big. He's going to go up for contested catches. So I think they pair really well there with the Jets, and the Jets have to do everything they can to set up. I wanted to say Sam Darnold, Wilson for success, and maybe they earlier pick to go line or defense, and I think Drake London, who I don't love overall, I think I've got him very close. He's probably like third or fourth out of guys. I've got Wilson and Williams as the top two guys for my rankings. But London, size, contested catch. He's athletic. He can break tackles. It's more like speed and route running. He needs to refine a little bit more. But I think the Jets would be all over him there in the first round.
Yeah, that is fair. I'll talk about the Jets later. In fact, real soon. Treylon Burks is next on our list. Where you got him going?
Yeah, I got him going to the Packers. They absolutely need a receiver. I think they've picked 22 and 28. So I could see them going with him at 22. Maybe they move up and get him earlier, but they absolutely need some weapons if they are truly going to try to contend there with Rodgers and not have anything else. So I think some of the easiest lock bets are the Packers and the Chiefs going with the receiver there in the first round.
Definitely. So this is a more logical roll of the dice on my part.
Interesting.
I do have the 49ers trading Debo.
Okay.
I'm hearing all the Jets 10th pick stuff, and I'm going to bite on that. So I have the 49ers trading, getting the 10th pick, probably trading back and then getting Burks. I don't think they draft him with the 10th overall, and the 49ers love trading back. So that's my play. I don't have the Jets taking anyone. And then I have the 49ers grabbing Burks in the first after that trade is completed. One of my more thoughtful rolls of the dice.
There you go.
So
I was going to say heir apparent to Debo, but it would be an immediate heir apparent.
Yes, immediate, right off the bat. So that takes care of Burks. Again, I'm forgetting the name. Chris Olave. Is how we say it, right?
Olave, you got it. Yeah, it's the second wide receiver out of Ohio State. An interesting little tidbit. They have two receivers in this draft, and by the end of the year, they were the second and third best receiver on their team. David Njigba, I believe is his last name, is an absolute stud. So if you're interested in future drafts here, I don't know, he might be eligible next year or maybe the year after. He is incredible. He came in and was clearly the top guy. And that's why that Ohio State offense was awesome, having Wilson and Njigba and Olave. But Olave is kind of that best, pure route runner guy. And it's interesting. I have him going to the Chargers in the first round. I was talking to Steve about the Chargers potentially taking a receiver. I really see him as a Keenan Allen type receiver. And I think he would be a perfect kind of replacement for Keenan Allen, given that I comp him to Keenan Allen. Good separation, great catching, good speed. Not a big yards after the catch guy, not the most physical, but he's just a smooth runner. I want to say he's a senior, so he's definitely one of the older guys coming out. But for receiver, I don't think that's as big of an issue as it is, with a quarterback or a running back.
You have hurt our Keenan Allen and our Elijah Moore. Thank you very much.
I think if the Elijah Moore, I wouldn't be too bummed if Drake London goes there because I think they complement each other well. But since they don't have anybody else, I think if Chris Olave goes to the Chargers, that definitely would hurt Keenan.
Yeah, that's fair.
At least his value long term. Maybe Keenan probably still does everything this year, but
yeah, that's fair. That makes sense.
But
So
you have him.
I have him going to the Packers, also in the first round. And really, you touched on why. Great route runner. If you're going to get somebody with Aaron Rodgers, you're going to need a really good route runner and somebody that he can get comfortable with quickly. And if you're going to establish comfort, you want a good route runner. So we, again, both agree, as do most, the Packers are going to be taking a wide receiver in the first round. We just got different ones. So yeah, that takes care of Olave. George.
And that's your first round as well,
yes,
for receivers.
That ends my first round. George Pickens is next. I have him going in the second to the Colts because the Colts feel like they need a wide receiver. Which I say that and laugh. You didn't actually pick a wide receiver for the Colts, which I found pretty interesting.
I look
or
at
the
that
Falcons.
now and I realized that. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think the Falcons are rebuilding. Colts, I definitely think probably would take a receiver. Actually, no, I have the Falcons coming up here, but Colts is definitely one I may have overlooked there a little bit. I think they probably take one. I don't know that it's this early, just because I think they have other needs on defense. But like you said, they really just have one guy, unless you count whatever's left of T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah, exactly, and that's pretty much it. They just need a guy. I don't think they need to spend a first, but I think a second's fair. You have him staying in the first. You do have him going to the Chiefs. Anything different than what I was talking about earlier with the Chiefs?
No, I think they need some guys. I believe Juju Smith-Schuster is the number one receiver on the Chiefs right now, which is pretty wild. Obviously, still got Travis Kelce, still got some running back options there for passing, but they definitely need to go get someone. And Pickens is like all the upside in the world. He was injured coming into the year. He got injured at the end of 2020. Didn't play until the end of the season, but did end up getting to play in the playoffs. And it was a little limited, but in the snaps that he played, he looked awesome. And he had one catch for like 52 yards in the national championship game. So he's a guy that if he can get fully healthy, he is an absolute freak. He wants to block. He wants to get physical. So he's someone that I think would be a home run there for the Chiefs and pairing him up with Pat Mahomes long term.
Perfect. We have Dotson up here. I find this one surprising. I think they can do it. I'm surprised. So where do you have him going?
Yeah, I got him going to the Bills. I think the Bills they haven't signed Manny back, and I believe Beasley is a free agent too. Am I not?
Yes, they released him, I believe.
Yes. So they have obviously Stephon Diggs, and then blanking on the other guy that stepped up a little bit last year.
I should know because I've liked him.
Yeah,
and he was on my team. Gabriel or not Gabriel
Davis. Davis, right?
Gabe Davis. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I like Gabe Davis too, but I think John Dotson at Penn State is just a great route runner. I think he's solid. I don't think he has like the pure ceiling that your Wilson, your Williams, London, and Burks have. I think he's more in line with Olave. He's got a really good floor. Arguably one of the best hands in the entire draft. Really quick, great separation. He's smaller, so he's not going to be the most physical. Doesn't have the best athletic measurables, but I think he's just a very safe option. And I think for the Bills, they want to keep building that offense. Got them taking Breece Hall a little later in the draft, grabbing John Dotson here in the first. They're just continuing to keep good weapons around Mr. Allen.
Yeah, and this one, this is a tough one for me because I have him going to the Texans, technically in the second, but it's an early second. So he's right in that borderline there where you can call him a first. It kind of just talks about what we talked about with the Texans where we were talking about the running backs. Like they just need to rebuild that team. They don't have a lot. I'm blanking on their quarterback's name, the young guy from last year, but
Davis Mills.
Yeah, Davis Mills. There you go. You need the guy. If he's going to be a guy you want to give a serious shot to, you need to put some weapons around him. So spending a second on a wide receiver, an early second, and then a third on a running back, which we actually both have different running backs, different wide receivers, but we both do agree on that front.
Need players.
Yes, you need someone.
You must fill out the roster.
Yeah, so won't say any more about that. That was pretty easy. Christian Watson is next for me. I have him going in a second. Have him going to the Bears. Allen Robinson's gone. He was kind of gone last year. And I feel like you need someone else to complement Mooney in that offense. So I have them grabbing Watson there in the second. How about you?
Yeah, and these next two guys I think are kind of the end of the guys I'm really excited about opportunity wise, and both smaller school guys. Christian Watson out of North Dakota State University, maybe most recently known for both Carson Wentz and your boy, blanking on his name, your quarterback. I believe he went to North Dakota State as well, right? Trey Lance, yes. So a couple quarterbacks coming out there. I don't really remember too many skill players, but Watson, has kind of good combination of speed and size or separation. From what I saw, he's pretty raw, so you're going to need to develop him. I got him going to the Falcons. I think it's a good fit for a team that is kind of rebuilding. You can kind of let him develop on that team. Second round, as we said, they need skill players. So not much more to say there for the Falcons.
Perfect. Next up is Sky Moore. We both have him going in the second round. You have him going to the Texans. Any reason other than what I was talking about earlier?
Nope, same thing here with the Texans taking a receiver, like you said, and another guy that I think small school. He's explosive. He's a great catcher, good release. I think he'll be fun to watch. But another one that's a smaller school guy. So I got him going to a team that maybe doesn't need to have him immediately. He can kind of develop there with the Texans. But yeah, this is kind of the end of the guys I'm really excited about. Then you got some shots that we can take here at some of these later guys. You got him, Sky Moore, going to a little bit more exciting team than I do with the Texans.
Yeah, I got him going to the Cardinals. It just feels like they need a wide receiver. They've been drafting a ton of them. And they just one after one has not worked out. Chad Williams, Bucker, Kirk is gone. They just keep doing it and they keep missing. And, if Kyler is actually unhappy, this might be a nice, peace offering, give him another, weapon to be excited about. It feels a little bit of a need as well. I got him going in the second. I can see them burning maybe a third on a wide receiver too, maybe not going as early as a second, but I think it fills a need. Makes a lot of sense. So yeah, got him going to the Cardinals. Khalil Shakir is next. I have him go to the third to the Lions. I wavered a little bit on the Lions because of the Chark acquisition. I look and think, well, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had a great year last year. You need someone else. Do the Lions feel that way, or do they think Chark's at someone else? That I'm not sure. But we've had a rough patch with Chark, so I plugged him into the Lions in the third round. You got him going into the second to who?
Yeah, I got him going in the second, and I got him going to the Steelers. I think it's a team that needs some receiving help. Juju leaves. Deontay Johnson has been pretty good, pretty consistent, but has had some blips where he's been a little wishy-washy. And then you have blanking on the other guy there from Notre Dame. He had a great rookie season, and then I think was a little bit of a step back last year. Chase Claypool. With a rookie quarterback, I think we're both expecting. I think that you want to get a nice young receiver that'd pair with him. So I've got Shakir going to the Steelers in the second round.
Okay. John Mechie. Both got him going in second. Who do you have him going to?
Yeah, got him here going to the Niners. Similar reasons that you mentioned there for Treylon Burks going to the Niners. I think there's a decent chance they trade Debo, and they're going to want to get some more weapons around him. And good Bama receiver, so I think a lot of these coaches like the players coming out of these big schools like Alabama.
Yeah, that is fair. I have him going to the Browns. You lost OBJ and Landry. You got Amari Cooper. You need to plug the hole with somebody. So I got them drafting Mechie in the second there, which is a fun segue into our next one, Calvin Austin. You have the Browns picking him in the third. Any other reason other than what I just laid out there? It's a need?
Yeah, need, same thing. I mean, you really just have Amari there. Jarvis, I think we'll have to see about where he ends up, but I think it just makes sense that they're going to take a receiver at some point in the draft, and I think third round makes a little sense for him.
Yeah, that makes sense. I actually have the Packers doubling up on wide receivers and grabbing Austin in the third. Devontae Adams is too big a guy to replace with one rookie kind of a situation, so you're going to draft two. Also replacing MVS, keep in mind. So they do it well, I guess. Yeah, Sammy Watkins sign there. I don't know if that counts as a replacement,
Yeah.
but
Womp womp.
yeah, technically. So yeah, I just grab them. Making up for lost time. All these years they should have been drafting them. They're going to draft 2 this year. So I have Austin going there to the Packers.
Makes
Jalen,
sense.
yeah, I think so. Good fit. Jalen Tolbert is next. I have him going to the Giants in the 4th. Just because the Giants, again, it's weird because it feels like they got wide receivers, but they also kind of don't. Kenny Galladay, not as good as he was in Detroit, getting hurt a little bit here. Sterling Shepard, a good wide receiver, but always hurt. Darius Slayton just hasn't been what he was when he had that, there's a few games in that rookie season. So I see a need there, and I can see them drafting Tolbert. How about you?
Yeah, I got him going to the Bears actually in the 2nd round. I think teams are going to be excited about him. South Alabama, so didn't play the best competition, right? If he's playing against, he's raw, but I do think he could go a little earlier just because of some of the abilities. Great contested catch, good jumping, pretty good route running and acceleration. So I think Bears need a receiver after losing Allen Robinson, and I don't think they really have too much behind him. And I'm blanking on the other guy who stepped up last year, but I think they only had 2 guys that had much of an impact.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. I mean, I picked the Bears earlier in the same round, so I think we're aligned there. Wan'Dale Robinson, what are you doing with him?
Yeah, so Wan'Dale Robinson, I got the Titans taking him. He's interesting player. He can do a lot with what he does. He's a interesting build, and I think Titans need, especially if they end up moving on from AJ Brown. There's rumors there. I don't know if that's definite, but he's got really good vision and really good, like yards after catch. His size, he's a little smaller, not the best route runner, not the best contested catch, but he's a really tough guy. He will, get his nose in there. So out of Kentucky, I think it just makes sense. The Titans are going to need some depth there.
Yeah, and I got him going to the Bills. A lot of the same reasons that you laid out when we talked about Dotson. I just don't have him burning a 1st-round pick on a wide receiver when you got Diggs. I think a 3rd round is a fair for a wide receiver, 2 or 3, depending on how they view Gabe Davis. So yeah, just an additional depth piece for them. Justin Ross is next up here. We both have him going in the 4th. I have him going to the Patriots. Just because a lot of the free agent acquisitions, they weren't bad, but they weren't great either. Kendrick Bourne, that guy that was an Eagle, and then he was a Raider, and I'm thinking of
Nelson Aguilar.
I kept thinking of Awesome Wall or whatever that cornerback's name was for whatever reason.
Namdi.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, callback. So I could see them burning a pick on a wide receiver, not super early. Looks like you're in agreement. We'll talk about that later. And I got Ross going there. What about you?
Yeah, got him going to the Cowboys. I think Cowboys losing Amari. I think they're still in good shape, but they could use another receiver, especially with Gallup potentially out to start the year with the injury at the end of last season. And I think they're going to run through the tight end as well. I mean, CD is going to be the focal point. You're going to have blank on his name. It's not Blake Jarwin. Who's the guy who stepped up with Blake Jarwin's injury?
Schultz.
Schultz. Yeah, I think Schultz is going to be a big focal point of the offense here. But I think they could definitely use a good, drafting a receiver toward the end of the draft. And Justin Ross is a big name. He was one of the top guys a couple years ago before a couple of injuries really hurt him the last few years. He's a big play guy, a lot of speed. You know that Jerry Jones loves his flashiness, and I think this guy has all of that. Did have an issue with drops and some route running issues, but overall, he can make a big play, and I think he would fit in with the Cowboys needing some depth at the position.
Okay, we got 4 more players left here, Will. 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends. David Bell is next up. You have him going to the Patriots. Again, any reason other than, what I was laying out for the Patriots earlier?
No, they need weapons. I mean, you got to surround Mac Jones with weapons to help him be successful. David Bell out of Purdue. He's a big guy. He was one of those guys that, came in and looked great early on. Kind of fell off production wise a little bit more recently. He's a good route runner. He's really savvy. He's good at catching the ball, but wasn't very explosive. Didn't have the best separation or speed and quickness are okay. So it's someone that I think, last year maybe is higher on the draft board if he was in the draft. This year I got him going in the 4th to the Patriots. And who knows, anybody that goes to the Patriots, if they can buy into the playbook and Bill Belichick can get the most out of him, he turns anyone into gold. So we will see.
And I got him going to the Chargers as a depth wide receiver piece. Maybe I just want to will it to not happen, but I don't want them to draft somebody in the first round. So I do have them adding a depth piece. So in the 4th round, not a ton to say there. Our last wide receiver here, Alec Pierce. I have him going up in the 2nd to the Titans. Mostly what you were saying about the Titans earlier, you don't know about A.J. Brown in the future. Even if A.J. Brown's there, you need someone else. That was kind of exposed last year.
Yeah.
What they have was just not enough. And I know they thought they were plugging that hole with Julio. Obviously, it didn't work out. But they need someone else, even if Julio stays. So I have them drafting Alec Pierce there in the 2nd. What are you doing with them there?
Yeah, I like Pierce as well out of Cincinnati. He's a big guy. He's physical. He can get up for some contested catches. Pretty good hands. I think he's going to be a really good red zone threat. I think route running, yards after catch were some issues that a lot of people saw, and quickness, maybe some separation. But I think overall he's going to be a valuable asset to some teams. And 3rd round, I got the Texans taking him there, getting some more depth at the receiver position. I think he could be valuable as long as he gets into a spot that gets some opportunity for your fantasy team.
Yeah, that's fair. Next up is the tight end position. Our last 2 players here. Trey McBride is first up, Will. What are you doing with him?
Yeah, I got the Jaguars taking him. You think you want to get some weapons around your rookie quarterback. Doug Peterson knows that. He's always been successful with the tight end. So I got the Jaguars taking him in the 3rd. Looks like you got him going a little earlier, though.
Yeah, I wrote down the 1st. I don't think I meant that. I think I mean more like the 2nd. But whatever, it's on the dock, so I'll leave it there. More importantly, is the logic is the Titans. Again, kind of playing back to the other conversation. You just need somebody, and tight end I think is a decent need for them. So I could see them burning probably not a 1st, probably like a 2nd or a 3rd on the best tight end in the class there. And our last player here, Will, again, I don't know how to pronounce this.
Believe it's Greg Dulcich.
Okay, fair. We both have him going in the 3rd.
Yeah.
What are you doing with him?
At UCLA, he's an interesting guy. He's explosive, really good yards after the catch, good route runner. His blocking was one big issue, but sometimes it's works to your advantage if you can get on the field just from pure receiving skills. They're going to have you run more routes, whereas I think some other guys, maybe with blocking as a plus, you get on the field more, but you're blocking more. So, I got him going in the 3rd round, as you mentioned, and got him going to the Colts. I think they could use a tight end. They could also use a receiver, as you mentioned, but I think they could use a tight end. With the guys they have, they've got Baby Hands Jack Doyle. They got, what's the gigantic guy's name? I can't blanking on him. Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, Mo Alley Cox. There you go.
A lot of guys that, on paper look good, they just haven't really stepped up, and maybe that's because they haven't had a really good quarterback recently. See what Matt Ryan can do there, but yeah, I think they could go with the rookie tight end here.
And I have him going to the Bucks in the 3rd. I also had James Cook going to the Bucks in the 3rd. They only got 1/3, so more trading for the Bucks. Something's going to happen here.
Something's happening there.
Yeah, but Gronk's not there yet. Or you're just
taking your shot. If the Bucks get one of them,
I'll win.
You'll be
good. For real.
You'll get some points.
Absolutely. It's kind of a need. Gronk's not signed yet. I'm assuming he's coming.
Still not.
Yeah.
You got to imagine, but I don't know. I'm in a situation where I've got a cut deadline coming up a week from this Friday. And he's one of my last few guys.
I think he goes somewhere. He keeps talking up Cincinnati or something. But
yeah,
I think he ends up with the Bucks.
I don't think I can cut him, but it's like it would be more reassuring to see him on a team.
Yeah, and sign somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, tight ends take time. Gronk is not going to be there in 3 years, so he can take over the helm from Kenny and catch the ball from Kenny Pickett in 3 years.
In your mocks. There you go. You got
Absolutely.
you got the future Bucks lined up with all these positions.
Yeah. Hire me as GM. But that rounds out our NFL draft predictions here, Will. What do you think? Anything surprising? Anything you wish we could redo?
I think probably would have had the Colts take a receiver. I think that's probably
Yeah,
the
fair.
big one overlooking now. I'm pretty excited to destroy you in the when we come down to the points here. I think I'm just going to be just a landslide victory. So I'm looking forward to that.
Fair. I don't know what I would do different. Probably not gamble so much. But whatever.
Steve the gambler. You got to lean into your
lean into the gimmick, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. I believe we're doing another rookie mock, maybe a Superflex mock for our next episode. That'll be in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll have landing spots for these rookies, so hopefully that solidifies this a little bit more.
Make it a little bit easier. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was tough drafting kind of just rookies with no team.
Yeah, it gets a lot easier when you have some clarity there. Perfect. Well, until then, folks, enjoy the draft and trust your board.